Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is a very orchestrating type of danger that we as Kenyans, we are in. Number one, IMF is giving Kenya loan after Kenya accepted their conditions such as doubling VAT on fuel. When I saw this, I realized that everything when it comes to this budget or finance bill is being orchestrated by the IMF. As we are in danger, there are two types of loans that if William Samoei Ruto is going to take, we are going to face a very dangerous kind of economy that you have ever seen in your life. Number one type of loan that William Ruto is already having in his mind is that Kenya is set to receive an additional of 162.5 billion Kenya shillings from IMF for meeting its conditions such as doubling VAT on fuel. That is number one. Number two, as Ruto's government is looking forward to borrow another 718 billion in the financial year, according to the Cabinet Minister of Treasury, Njuguna Ndung'u, yesterday said that the government projects to raise 2.96 trillion in total revenues and spend 3.7 trillion during a 2023 and 2024 financial year. What I saw here is it was a very dangerous type of economy that we are going to experience. Why am I saying that? The projection of this government towards the collection of revenue is 2.96 trillion in total as their expenditure. What they are going to spend is more than what they are collecting. According to the expectation of this Ruto's government, they are expecting to spend 3.7 trillion Kenya shillings during this financial year, 2023-2024. As the collected revenue expectation is 2.96 and the spending, according to this government, is going to be 3.7 trillion. It is a big gap, almost 1 billion Kenya shillings. And this leaves a budget deficit of 718 billion that will be filled through domestic and external borrowing. That is what we are being given. Now, given the projected revenue and grants against the projected expenditures, the fiscal deficit is projected to decline to 718 billion Kenya shillings. That is 4.4% of GDP from 840.9 billion Kenya shillings, and that represents 5.8% of the GDP 2022-2023 financial year. But again, when you compare those, is that despite of them now requesting for a loan to close up the gap and also the deficit, is going to give us a lot of problem, as those who are going to give us this loan, they're coming with such a very pathetic orchestrating type of dangers that we are seeing. For example, I want to give you just an example and you will be shocked. Now, Kenya is going to receive 162.5 billion Kenya shillings from IMF. IMF. And this because they have already seen the condition they gave Kenya towards the VAT on fuel has been met. If the fuel and this VAT on fuel has been doubled as the expectations and condition from the IMF, you want to tell me that Kenyans are not going to pass through a bigger challenge or a very pathetic challenge when it comes to the economy? Because when you double the VAT on fuel, it's going to bring a very dangerous kind of economy. Because the last year I saw 2022 where people were facing inadequate fuel supply. That is what we saw. And in any case, this is going to be doubled, then everything is going to change in the market. Because this fuel is used to transport various commodities across the market and across the Republic of Kenya. That is according to my opinion. So when IMF is giving us loan, they always come with their agendas and their conditions. And their condition even can come and say, they can even say that now we are not going to have a sugar that is going to be sold at 200 Kenya shillings per kg. But it must be sold at 300 Kenya shillings per kg. So that their conditions must be met. Then it is a very kind of worrying situation if William Samoei Ruto is telling us that they are not looking forward to borrow, but at the same time the news that we are receiving, they are going to borrow. Now, this is almost 1 billion Kenya, 1 trillion that William Ruto is going to borrow. So 162, when you look at 162.5 billion Kenya shillings that is going to be borrowed, then again 718 billion Kenya shillings because of this so-called a deficit towards the finance budget, as the expectation of collecting revenue is 2.96 billion Kenya shillings, not billion, 2.96 trillion Kenya shillings, and what they are expecting to expend is 3.7 trillion Kenya shillings. That is almost a deficit of 700 billion Kenya shillings. Now, they are expecting to borrow 718 billion Kenya shillings. At this time, they are going again to be added 162 billion Kenya shillings. Now, when you add this 718 plus 162, this is almost 1 trillion Kenya shillings. As we speak now, the debt that we are having is almost 9.8 trillion Kenya shillings. That is almost to 10 trillion. When you add to this 1 trillion, we are moving almost to 11 trillion. Which, when you look at the economy, is still wanting, is so dangerous and so pathetic that even William Ruto's government is claiming that the reason why they don't want to borrow because they want to depend on the taxes. And at the same time, they're saying they don't want to tax, or rather they don't want to borrow. At the same time, they're telling us that they should tax Kenyans. But what is this agenda that they're lying to us, that at the same time they don't want to borrow, but the news that we are receiving is that they are borrowing? So who is fooling who? This government is fooling Kenyans. We are being told they don't want to borrow, but they are borrowing. They are looking forward to borrow almost 1 trillion Kenyan shillings so that they can fill this gap, almost a deficit of 1 trillion Kenyan shillings. When Kenyans are coming out to realize this, is that we are requesting William Ruto to at least cut certain expenditures. When you look at 780, this can be reduced. Let us consume what we have. If their expectation is 2.9 trillion Kenyan shillings, after collecting the revenue, it will be good for them to cut certain expenditure so that they can meet this 2.96 trillion. Why is it that we are in a dangerous place? It is because the expenditure is 3.7 Kenya shillings, 3.7 trillion Kenya shillings. And this is the same William Ruto told us that he was having a plan to cut at least an expenditure to ensure that we use what we have. And what we have is 2.96 trillion. Why should we use 3.7 trillion? As we're speaking now, we are being told there is a danger of certain individuals in government agencies to lose their jobs, as they are planning to cut off certain jobs in the government agencies. Is it a plan to do so? The way I'm saying that let us use what we have. The revenue that they have collected, let us use that we have. We should not borrow. That is what William told us. But now, according to the Cabinet Minister of Treasury, he has come out to say that as the expenditure is 3.7, they must ensure that they're going to fill this deficit of 718 billion Kenyan shillings. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is the type of kind of dangerous that we are in. As those who are giving us loan, they are coming out with their conditions that are making the economy so dangerous to common mwananchi, as things are going harder. Ladies and gentlemen, what are your thoughts? Drop your opinion at the comment section below. Bye bye. Till we meet on another video.